well, we're live for somebody. Let's just see. It's not connected to LinkedIn, I think. All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm just having a producer who's looking at this to make sure that everyone is live. But I think this is live. This is live. Good to see you, everybody. Thank you for making the time. Why don't we start with the boring stuff, but important stuff? You're all organizing Toronto Tech Week. So why don't you introduce yourselves, and we'll do it Siri, Mel, and Julia in that order, so everyone knows who they're listening to.
Hi, I'm Siri Agrell. I'm the CEO of BetaKit. I'm definitely organizing it less than these two amazing powers are. But yeah, I run BetaKit. We're the publication of record for Canadian tech and innovation. And we're so excited for next week and to see everybody at all the incredible events.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'm Mel. I ran and founded TechFest last year, a proud founding partner of the all-new Toronto Tech Week this year. And I've worked closely alongside Siri and Julia to get this going for the community. Very excited for next week.
Very cool.
Awesome. I'm Julia. I run platform and operations for Golden Ventures, and also a founding partner of Toronto Tech Week. And I am very excited for next week. It's been a big week leading up to it, and it's looking pretty great. So I'm excited for everyone to experience it.
That's really great. Well, that seems to be escalatory. So I can say I am not an organizer of Toronto Tech Week, but I am very happy to see everybody. I host a show and a blog called Decelerator, focusing on the future of entrepreneurship with investors, ecosystems, and entrepreneurs doing tech differently. And so I think the motivation for me behind this was there's about, as of last check, there's about 300 plus or minus events happening, big and small. And I feel like more are coming because it's still a whole, just under a week away. And a common conversation I was having with a lot of people was, what the heck do I go to? How do I navigate this thing? And they were postponing deciding what to go to because there's just such a huge list on your website or on Luma. And I know very cool entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial types have been creating different ways to kind of view or consume this information, but it's still a lot. And so I thought, well, who better to tell everybody how to navigate this thing, what's going on, than the three of you. So it's also worth noting that you can ask questions. So there's a chat. This is a live stream. So if you have a chat, for some reason, when I respond to a chat, 3 versions of me respond. Nobody knows why. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, in the live stream chat on the side. And if you're on Riverside, you actually can ask a question by jumping in on the call, by requesting, and then you can join us for a conversation. So I guess the first question is, and this is an impossible one. I know, Siri, on BetaKit, you've attempted to answer this, but what are some, I'm not going to be like, what are the things that are like the top tier events? I think those are kind of obvious, but what are events, and maybe we'll start with you, Siri. What are events that are worthwhile in your mind that might not be getting like the top tier attention? Like everyone knows about, there's the homecoming event that is in a secret location that has Chamath and Toby and a bunch of other people. But are there any events that have crossed your mind or crossed your eyeballs that seem kind of cool?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think the first thing that's important is that this was, designed intentionally to have lots of events, right? It's supposed to be a different kind of tech event. The reason it came about was, we used to have Collision here in Toronto. It was one big trade floor with tons of things going on, everybody kind of wandering around, wondering what they should be doing. It was a really important moment in time for Toronto. Everyone realized it's great to have a week where everybody comes together. But I think when this whole group and people in the city were talking about what do we actually need, the one location, one venue, one stage thing was not it. It was the idea that we need a moment in time where people can do the things that are useful for them, right? They can convene the events that they want to go to, that they can gather people for dinners, that they can hear the speakers that they want to do. So I recognize that there's a lot, but I want people to know that it is supposed to be for the technology sector and about the technology sector, rather than being about one stage, one host, one venue. So within that context, I think there's tons of amazing stuff. We just did a BetaKit guide to Toronto Tech Week this week. And I have massive FOMO because every day I see a new one where I'm like, why didn't we include that? One of the things that I think is really interesting right now is there's a lot of events coming about defense. Right, this is the first time probably in recent history where Canadian tech has had to think about defense as a sector and as a potential source of revenue and something we should think about. So there's lots of really interesting things about defense that are coming up. I think that the Jeffrey Hinton event is getting a lot of attention, but I think that'll be a fascinating conversation. He's talking to one of his godchildren, one of the Cohere guys, about AI. I don't think that they necessarily agree on everything of how AI should go. I think that'll be fascinating. There's a really cool event happening at Casa Loma where it's, I think, a guy who works at Meta, who has created this sort of like artificial reality way to engage in Toronto. And they've done a sort of like escape room type, tech event at Casa Loma that I think will be amazing. So yeah, those are a couple that kind of piqued my interest, but I'll let these two jump in because I'm sure they have lots of other ones.
My God, like what Siri said, there's so many to pick from. And Toronto Tech Week starts officially on Monday, and we've gotten like probably 10, 15, 20 new event submissions this week alone. So they just keep coming, which is exciting. And a lot are focused on wellness as well. So like I know Sunseek is doing a few like 5K runs, cold plunges plus baths, which is really exciting. Love to see like activity like that early in the morning. I will not be partaking, but love to see it on the calendar. But I get, Julia, we were talking about that this morning. Like, I think every day, at least 5 people ask, like, which events should we go to? And it really is like a choose your own adventure based on what you're hoping to get out of Tech Week. Right. So if you're looking to meet investors, those are the events you should be going to. If you're looking to meet other co-founders, those are the events you should be going to. If you want to learn more about health tech, egg tech, what have you, like there's so many events that could cater to so many individuals. And so to pick favorites is like very, very difficult. Julia, I don't know if there's one that you're like very much looking forward to, but it's very hard for me to pick one.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's kind of like a good problem to have. I feel like a few months ago, even we were so aware of every single event that was happening. But yeah, there's 294 on the calendar right now. And I think it's a good thing to say that like we don't actually know every single thing that's happening because there's so much that's going on. And there's so many different groups that they're targeting. There's the HR tech crawl. So there's something for folks in HR. Float is hosting a finance leader, Skyline Social. There's this like marketing and AI event, and I'll shout them out because they're so popular right now that they were just in our Slack channel being like, we need a bigger event space, like SOS, who can help, because we have 300 people on the wait list and we were only going to accept 100. So I love that there's something for everyone. And I think we're all just trying to play catch up because it is decentralized and we're trying to keep up with all of the different events that are happening throughout the week. But like Mel said, there really is something for everyone who's in a different function or, works in a different sector. So I think it is a really fun choose your own adventure next week. And I have a lot of FOMO. I want to go to all of
it. Yeah. I mean, to your point, Siri, this does echo back, Mel, last year you did the sort of Toronto Tech Fest, which was sort of like a sort of community bottom up. I did a crazy pedal pub thing. Like you could just do your own thing. And this actually kind of reminds me a little bit back in 1965, I think it was, when we did there was that startup open house thing. I think it was in the mid teens of the last decade, where people would just like all the startups would just open the door and you could sort of wander the streets and see what was going on. It has that sort of vibe to it, which is like you can just throw an event if you want to, which is the blessing and the curse, I suppose. You said both two very important things I thought were worth sort of thinking about. One is I like the idea of like navigating this through a particular lens. So he's like, I could go to everything, but one way to slice it. And I know on the Toronto Tech Week website, you've got like AI and like you've got some verticals, you've got some ways to filter, but another way to slice it is, hey, am I raising money? Hey, do I want to like meet other entrepreneurs who are slightly further along than I am to see how they're running their business, especially in the days of AI with this stuff changing quickly. Are there, like, Julia, you mentioned HR, I believe. Are there any other sort of like slices, vertical, horizontal slices that any of you have seen that are like, is a path to navigate the week? If you like look at it from an early stage startup lens, for example, is there like, oh, you should go to ABC? I'm not expecting you to name one of the 300 events and create that path. But are there paths that are findable?
I think the easiest paths are probably by sector, which you can filter on the website, and then also by function. So, you could be operating in health tech, but maybe your marketing person wants to go and attend different events throughout the week. Like there is like a whole kind of stream, if you will, for that. So I think sector and function are probably the easiest to split by. But then there's also just stuff that might pique your interest. If it's social or like just networking events, that might be interesting. I think you could also sort of slice it by event type if that was interesting to you.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
think
these
we had
season.
one.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead, Siri.
We had one section in our guide about, sort of like opportunities to pitch and hackathons too. I think if you are looking for your early stage and you want to actually pitch your company, I think there's lots of stages and events that are designed for that. Same thing if you want to get out there and build, there's lots of stuff that is actually, catering to engineers and devs who want to come together and do something together, which I think is really unique. I think a lot of the bigger events, it's very founder investor focused. I think there's tons of stuff for every single role in tech, which is really, really exciting. And I also think that like you can, all of the speaking events too, it really depends what you want to hear about. There's incredible conversations. The Shopify Talks ones, they have Farhan Thawar doing, a talk. If, I think any engineer who's out there will want to go and like listen to him and about how he's building his products and his teams. There's an incredible conversation happening between the head of 1Password and the head of Ada, who are like two of the best founders around, talking to each other about how they're doing and what they're doing. So I think if you know what you're trying to learn and what you want to do, you can really like go in there and decide like how to spend your time.
Yeah, I'll also add to that, there's a new map that was launched. It's also in the BetaKit guide. So if you're looking to fill time potentially, and you're already in an area, you could look at the map and kind of see what else is happening if you're trying to like be most efficient with your time, just based on your current geo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple geographic hubs too. I think Marie at Tech2 has, taken over the Startwell space on King Street. They're just programming the heck out of that. There's going to be stuff there all day, every day. So if you don't know what to do, like head down there. There's great programming at that venue. I think Mars and, around the U of T campus will be another great location if you're looking to sort of camp out in an area of town. Lots of stuff going on at Mars, lots of stuff going on campus.
Yep, and the spas. Apparently, all the spas have. I'm just joking. But yeah, that's we almost need like Jeffrey Hinton should create an AI bot to help. Hey, I'm close to this thing. What do I go to next? So it'll help navigate. I think Mel, you said some last minute ads that are coming in. Is there something for those that are watching the live stream? And by the way, if you're on the live stream, feel free to ask questions or promote your event in the chat. And again, if you're on the Riverside version of it, so like on the link that was shared through LinkedIn and all that other stuff, you can actually talk. You can come on like a call-in show. It's like a call-in show. Otherwise, you're just gonna listen to me talk the whole time. Okay, so Mel, so is there anything that's come in lately that you're like, hey, for those that are watching the live stream, dibs, that's caught your eye?
Well, what we're trying to do is for a lot of the net new events or the ones with larger capacity, we're featuring them on the homepage. And so
nice. Okay.
For folks who are still looking for events with space, I know U of T just launched a big lawn party catered to university students, which is really exciting. It's a demographic that we'd love to get engaged and to come and partake. And so every few days, we're updating that homepage with either the new events or events still with capacity, so the public can kind of navigate that a little bit easier. So you can check out the homepage for that.
Yeah, we're also pushing everything through our newsletter as well. Yeah. So I think the newsletter is a great place to find up and coming events because we're strategically placing events there that still have capacity, just because so much of it is at capacity at this point, but there are some bigger events that still have space.
BetaKit Town Hall, Monday at 1.
Still space.
Still
a little bit of space.
Yes. So, I'm going to ask an unfair question. Every once in a while, of the 200-300 events, they're not evenly distributed necessarily in their popularity, right? Some people, like I remember meeting a woman who I think was doing the Java users group one that might have a different level of popularity than the BetaKit Town Hall, which is a different level of popularity. So the ones that are sold out, what always ends up happening is people want to go to the ones that are sold out. And I know every event organizer has their own policy about what they do about that. What do you suggest that this audience does? Do they show up and see if there's one in, one out, and do that kind of thing? Do they hit somebody on the head and take their ID and replace them? What's a good way to like? What this is inevitably going to happen. So, what do you suggest to people who are like, I think I want to see if I can make it into event XYZ?
No violence.
No violence.
No
We
violence.
have community
obviously.
guidelines on the website. We can share it in the chat.
Wait, and if that works, tell me, because I feel like that's never going to work. I mean,
No. I mean, again, every event host has their own different protocols. I'm personally going to say, like, don't show up on event day and shoot your shot. I feel like that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But I would shoot your shot and email the event host. I mean, Luma has that function. We've been getting a bunch of them in for various events that Siri, Julia, and I are independently running. And like that might be a good way to get into a sold out event, or if you like know somebody who's the event organizer, shooting your shot with them. But I think it will be chaos as it is on event day, so maybe don't show up, but try to shoot your shot pre.
I think, homecoming is sold out, but there's so much other incredible stuff going on Tuesday. Right, there's going to be lots of content out of that, so I think people, I think one thing people could do is like advocate to the city that we need better event space in this town, right? It's hard to find big venues in Toronto that have great sound and great capacity and all those things, right? And so I think that, knowing that it wasn't, because we wanted to keep people out, it's because there's only so many venues where you can host, like thousands and thousands of people. But yeah, I think like look at the other events that are happening at the same time and go and support the people who are organizing those. There's no end of things, and I think the most important thing is people coming out and supporting the sector, demonstrating that this is an ecosystem that shows up for each other, that has big ideas, that has lots to do, and is there to cheer each other on.
I know you've talked a lot about this on the BetaKit podcast and elsewhere about how the event's running. Have you learned? I mean, you're all experienced event organizers. There are different flavors of this event, particularly around the world with similar names and shapes. What have you learned that makes this to make this an easier experience on the attendees? Is it like, do create those clusters? Don't like make it a free for all. Like, is there anything that you've learned that makes this a little more? I know this is the first year, so obviously things are going to go wacky, but you're not the first time event organizers.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Julia. You go.
Well, I think we'll learn a lot after this year for sure. But I think just doing our best to make it as easy for folks to navigate as possible with resources like the map, being able to filter on the website. We're hoping that eases things for attendees specifically. But I think all of these events are like a little bit of chaos in the best way. Yeah. And I think that adds to a little bit of the magic of it. So I'm sure we'll learn a lot after this year. But in terms of like your comment around clusters, like it's not clustered by like health tech or fintech or anything like that right now. Like there's not necessarily like a stream that runs across the varying days. It really is a choose your own adventure. And I think that is part of what makes it special. There are some cool activations. I actually don't know if I can announce some of them yet that'll be helping to transport people between various events. So we are working on things in the background to try to help attendees navigate the city.
And I think as like Tech Weeks become more wide known and folks have attended, say, like New York Tech Week, LA Tech Week, London, like UK Tech Week, the community members are producing their own resources that are helping the community. Somebody sent us like a calendar, like day by day visual of like all the events that are happening at that certain time and day. Like it was just visually really nice to see something like that. And that was created by a community member. And even like the platform that we were working with on Luma, it's designed to be seamless for users who have an account. And because most events are hosted on the Luma platform, it goes into your calendar easy. You can check all of your events that you're signing up for outside of the few events who for security or what have you purposes are using their own platform. But because most events are hosted on Luma, it's such an easy way to get all of the events you've signed up for, which ones you're approved for, under one platform. So
Yeah, that makes sense. And how do you know? I mean, you've got a lot of large numbers, you've got lots of sold out events. I mean, is that a vanity metric, or is that actually like you've succeeded? Like, how do you know you've succeeded with Toronto Tech Week? I know that's a weird existential question to be asking about what event after what should I go to? But how do you define success for this, for the, I'm assuming for the community, for the ecosystem?
I think we'll know that like post event, but I think even leading up to it, it's incredible even just seeing all of the event hosts kind of get real behind their events. Like I know 111 is planning one of the bigger parties in the evening, and just seeing all of the hard work that the event hosts are putting into it, because it truly is so community driven, that founders, solo entrepreneurs, all the way up to like large organizations like 1Password or Wealthsimple or Ada get behind this. I think it's a success in and of itself. And we're just so grateful for our sponsors, our community partners, our like 250 plus event hosts that have decided to like put up their hands and host an event. I think that's already a success. And then also with the messages coming in from like folks from the UK, all across Canada, the States, who are deciding to participate and booking a flight and coming and attending the events. We're expected to have over 10,000 people here between the 23rd and 27th, which is going to be like beautiful chaos. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a success already.
Sorry, there are attendees coming from overseas, like not, or should I say not Toronto, I should say.
Yeah, like all
Yeah.
over the States. We're getting messages from folks coming in from like coast to coast across Canada. Lots of folks coming in from the UK who booked their flights and are sending us messages of like where to stay, what events to go to, and things like that, which is really exciting.
So what do you think? What do you think? I mean, this clearly leans into the purpose of the whole thing, but what do they want? Why are they here? Do you, from the small sample I'm sure that you've seen?
I think it's just to make those new connections. In Siri, I feel like you might have a little bit more of an opinion, but it's just, again, like as these tech weeks get exposure, it's such a unique and I wouldn't say budget friendly, but cost effective way to make a lot of those connections in a short amount of time without the large like conference ticket or yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the real insights of those big events, like the collisions and the web summits of the world, is that the moment of time is really important. Everyone is busy. We're competing against so many other cities, so many like other things in people's schedules.
Mhm.
One of the reasons that it was important, I think, for this group to come together after last year is that we didn't want that moment in time, the momentum around that week in June where investors knew this is the time I'm going to go into Toronto. We didn't want that to go away, because that's, especially right now, it's really important that Toronto has an opportunity and an organized approach to like, how are we going to show people what's happening here? How are we going to show them that there are incredible companies, there are incredible leaders and opportunities in Toronto right now? You have to have a moment in time to do that. You have to make a lot of noise to do that. People have a lot of places to look. They have a lot of places they can put their money. So I say the fact that, we're doing this, we've put a stake in the ground of like, this is the week in June where all eyes are on Toronto. And we've called on the sector to step up as well, right? Of like, let's show people what we can do. You want to show them, like, put on an event, build the thing you've always wanted to build. I think that the fact that we have this many people who have said, yeah, I want to do that. I have an idea. I want to bring a group together to do this thing. I think that's already a massive success, right? I think that is showing that Toronto is is a force to be reckoned with. There's lots of people here doing incredible things, and this is a chance for everybody to see that.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to add some stats to this conversation, because I am privy to some of them, 60 of the, as of like 2 weeks ago, of events of the 300 are completely sold out. And then another like 65 are like nearing capacity. So well over a third are well over sold out or at capacity. And we did that check like, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I assume that it's even higher at this point. And that was just for event hosts where we had their information. There's a lot of event hosts where we just don't have that information. And kind of like both Siri and Mel said, I think we're just like a borderless society at this point as well. And so people are so transient. But we also have so many amazing event hosts, like CDL in particular. They're hosting their super sessions where their 12 satellite offices from across the globe are coming to town, like all the best and the brightest from across all of their streams are coming to Toronto for the week. And so there's, to your point of like, why are people coming? I think it's because, you know, Toronto is a place where people should be building and where people should have their eyes on what's happening here. And we have so many incredible organizations that are actively bringing folks to the city, and then folks who have just like organically come across Toronto Tech Week. There's lots of folks, like Mel said, from the UK, Maryland, which I think is like a sister city of Toronto. Like there's so many pockets where it's been so surprising to see people. I think I saw Dublin on the list. Someone from Dublin's coming to homecoming. So there really are so many amazing people, and it's a bit of push and pull from people just finding it organically, but then also organizers bringing their network to the city.
The guy from Dublin's actually the head of trust and safety for Blue Sky, and he's
Very.
speaking at Town Hall. Canadian guy, used to run digital for the Canadian government, now runs trust and safety for Blue Sky. So yeah, there's some incredible people coming from elsewhere.
It's interesting because, you know, the point that you made, Siri, you know, having just been at Web Summit Vancouver, which was their inaugural sort of move to this new ecosystem, I'm not, you know, there's no casting of disparagement in any direction. It's just, it's an interesting insight that I thought where you were going was a lot of the anchor, the event itself provides an anchor. And then if you talk to folks who go to these events, the connections are actually made outside at the side parties. And what's fascinating is I think at least the formal number that the Web Summit folks shared was 15,000 something. 15,000 people attended the one in Vancouver. And if you're even anywhere near the goal, Mel, that you mentioned, there's no anchor event here that's stapling, that's causing an excuse to have folks show up. So if you're anywhere near 10,000, you're not far for your inaugural event, which is super interesting. Which is ironically, it's all the good stuff with at the Dewey Center, you know, which is kind of fascinating to me.
And the amazing part of that too is that, you know, with those big events, all the partnership dollars go to one place.
Right.
All the revenue goes to one place. All the ticket sales go to one place. And that's great because it does bring people into a city. But I think that like the incredible thing about this organizing committee is that they are very, very intent on making sure we don't want everything to go to the center. The center functions to be a conduit out to the whole, right? We are here to be the umbrella organization, to shine a light on what everybody's doing, to have enough, you know, big anchor events to make sure that there's like, you know, continuity, there's opportunities throughout the week. But it was really important that is like an insight from those big events is that, you know, and kudos to the Web Summit guys, but we wanted the revenue dollars, the sponsorship dollars, the attention to go out to the people on the ground who are doing the things, right, to help them support their events. And so I think not only are we getting the same numbers, but we're actually having a hugely beneficial impact on all the different organizations that are doing incredible things in this city.
Yeah, it's funny because I would have taken the, you know, $40 million myself and allowed the Toronto Tech Week to happen. So, you know, I'm perfectly willing to, yeah, but I see your point. I see your point, which is like the investment goes ecosystem wide as opposed to concentrated in one organization. As we wrap up, because again, I'll just say if you want to talk about your event, if you have any questions for Siri, Mel, or Julia, now's your chance. From now on, they're not answering their phones because they're going to be picking up the phone and calling all the other venues that they're trying to wrangle. So now's your chance. And I know that a bunch of you are event organizers because I saw that you were RSVP'd. Okay, so I'm going to ask the same question again as we wrap up if there's no further questions from the audience. I'm not asking you to pick your favorite child. I'm just asking you to think again about the events that you think are unsung, that aren't necessarily full, that really stood out to you. Are there any other things that are standing out? And this is a toss-up for anybody who has something that's in the back of their mind, whether it's new or something where it's like, you know, you really should check out XYZ. Is there anything else that's sort of on the tip of your tongue that's you really want to share with the audience that they should check out especially today. We're recording this on Tuesday at 3. So theoretically, you have 6 days to figure it out. Not you, but the audience.
I think all the basketball runs are going to be a lot of fun. I know Team BetaKit's really psyched for the basketball. Will be fun. I'm going to selfishly shout out Town Hall again, and I can do this because we got a big ass venue, and we can open up a lot of it. But we have some incredible people on stage. Earlier stage, founders who are doing really incredible things. We're launching the first ever print edition of BetaKit called BetaKit Most Ambitious, which we'll be handing out at the door at Town Hall. So I think if you're looking for something to do on Monday, that's
Nice.
a great place to start.
Yeah. Mel, Julia, you can even pimp out your own events if you want.
Listen, our events are full. So.
Okay. Don't do that then.
I have a bigger capacity than yours.
Is that legitimately a problem? Siri, you said event space is a problem. Is it literally holding back Tech Week, or is that?
Yeah, it's a huge problem in this city. There's not that many venues, and the ones that there are book out years in advance. So Massey Hall, Kerner Hall, like we have beautiful event spaces, but especially around this time of year with convocations and things like that. Roy Thompson Hall, like we asked about those right away, and they're already booked, right? And so I think the smaller venues are more difficult. And so, yeah, I think that's a nice thing about having a moment in time too, is it allows us to plan ahead, book those bigger venues for people to find out what works, where they want to do it. But yeah, no, this is ecosystems are very tied into the cities that host them too. And I think that part of this for everybody too is like showing up and showing what a huge community the Toronto tech sector is, sends a message to cities and governments too, right? These are the people who are working in the city every day, who are doing important things, who want to build their careers and their lives here. And so maybe by showing up and having these events everywhere, which like hopefully it won't be that hard to get to, maybe our leaders will say, hey, we got to do more about traffic. We got to do more about transportation and housing and transit to make sure we can keep these incredibly talented people in this town. And maybe we should, create some more event venues for them.
That's a very articulate. Mel, Julia, anything that's, not your event, Mel, but another event that's on your mind, or Julia?
No, there's so many. Honestly, it's hard for us to pinpoint a specific one because there's so many events that still have capacity that are going to be great moments in time for people. I know that Tech2 is doing like their Super Bowl of events, and there's a TechQuest event on Thursday.
Okay.
And
that's got a great lineup.
Killer speaker lineup. And I know that there's still spots there. So if you are looking for something to do on Thursday, check out TechQuest. And honestly, like if you're early morning risers, there's like coffee meetups for founders. Because a lot of the notables are like the speakeasies, the late night parties. But alternatively, there's lots of like early morning activities for founders and investors to get together. So look at like Sunseek. They're doing a bunch of morning activities.
Yeah, I was like adamantly insisting that we put this windsurfing event on the guide for a while, and I was like, somebody kept taking it off, and I'm like, no, we have to put the windsurfing one on. So, but apparently it's like a VC called Windsurf or something.
Oh,
like it's not at all an actual windsurfing event. So it got taken down.
Is it the coding platform that just got bought by OpenAI for gazillions of dollars?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be out on the water.
You'd think they would lean into their brand.
I know.
What's the opposite of windsurfing? Maybe they're doing that.
Yeah.
Certainly for me, what stood out, or at least the things I'm probably going to try to make, Prosh Marketing is doing something on Tuesday night. I'm going to try to make it out to that. I know Y-Space and the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance is doing something on Thursday night. I'm looking forward to that. I know this is a hard one to get into, but the Brad Feld one, OG VC, I would like to hear what the heck he has to say about what's happening to venture capital in 2025 and beyond.
That's a Tech2 one, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Good one. And RBC as a tech mixer. So I think what I like about it is there's the talking head bits with really, I mean, for an inaugural event to get these fancy people out is quite impressive. And then there's like different flavors of socialization, which are like, there's no talking head. The idea here is to just meet other people in your vertical and whatever. So I'm looking forward to the exhaustion and heterogeneity of the events that I'm going to attend. Before we wrap up, I think we can wrap up early because we don't have any questions from the audience, and we can share this later for those who want to see it. Hot tips. Each of you have what's a hot tip for making it through the week and not dehydrating and falling down on your face and getting into the things you want to get into. So each of you, round robin, what are you going to do? I'll have one too. And we'll start with Julia. How are you going to make it through the week?
Well, we were actually just talking about this. An actual hot tip, it's supposed to be like 30+ degrees. So dress
It's summer on Friday.
Comfortable shoes, dress appropriately, update your RSVP if you can no longer attend something. Like so many of the events have wait lists. So being a good attendee means updating your RSVP.
Which also might make you get into other things. If people do that, you might free up space for people who want to get into an event you can't get into.
Don't be that guy and like and be
But yeah, I would say those are some of my hot tips. I'm sure you guys have other ones.
Mel?
My God, there's so many. I have like a fanny pack and I keep like Tylenol and like Pepsi in my bag and like a protein bar. But like, because it's going to be so hot, this is such like mom advice, but like make sure you hydrate and like drink water.
Yeah.
We have some incredible CPG companies who are supporting events with product handouts for homecoming, the Tech2 like founders, stationary place that start well for them to like co-work and stuff like that. So if you see a sample, this is like a please shout them out and like show thanks and support to the CPG companies who are showing up, because there's a lot of them that's supporting the week, and a lot of them are health and wellness products. But like drink water, wear flat shoes, and like get decent sleep so you can survive the next day.
In my head, Mel, you're doing like, when you do those runs and there's those people with cups that just hand you the cup as you're running so you like can hydrate yourself. It's like, so you need to plan out your route so that like you've got the samples along the way. You're like, oh, hydration, oh, protein. Yes. And you have to like, that's the thing that the entrepreneurs
do that with the flags.
Yeah. You should have one of those, like, and that little 20-kilometer mark.
Stop. Yes.
Yes.
2020.
Siri.
Pace yourself. Last year during Collision, I actually rode my bike home from a party behind this young guy who had not paced himself. And I basically followed him home so I could stop him from dying a horrible bike-related death. I was basically like holding him by his backpack and riding alongside him, back from somebody's party that I will not name. Be careful, take care of yourself. And the other thing is like, if you are a younger company, if you are a founder starting out or somebody who's looking for a job, like think about how to make those moments matter, right? Think about what you're trying to get out of this and who you want to talk to and how to make it memorable. One of the things I thought was interesting, I don't know if you saw this in Vancouver, Rob, but like paper is back. I don't know if this is good for the environment or not, but like people were handing me brochures, people were handing me physical cards, we're handing out physical magazines. Like I think thinking about how to make these moments really work for you. If you're on stage, if you're speaking, say something interesting, right? Like no one needs another boring panel. Like make these moments matter, ask for what you need, and give people a reason to care.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. So, just be authentically you and don't try to bullshit the person on the other side of it. You collectively have managed to bring out much, if not all of, if not the Canadian, but certainly the Toronto tech ecosystem. There's literally everyone on the planet. And I have yet in my very, very long career have yet to see anyone say, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. Get out of my face. Well, there was one guy, but that guy's a jerk.
As a doing that.
No, but if you genuinely ask for help, I've never seen anyone turn that request down. My hot tip is literal hot tip. Don't bring your laptop. Don't bring your work stuff. I always do this, and it's taken me 20 years to learn this lesson. You think you're going to do work, and you bring your laptop to pretend you're going to do work, and you bring all of your work stuff, and you never do any work. So don't pretend you're going to do the work. Just admit to yourself you're not going to do it unless you're pitching and you need your laptop or some sort of device to actually present, and you're going to present. If you're not doing it on paper slides like Siri suggested, don't bring your laptop. It's not worth it.
It's just heavy.
I know. Even the
And
MacBook
it's
Airs. Then you
hot.
bring your cables, then you bring all
It's
this other
gonna be
crap.
hot.
Exactly. And you never need it. And then maybe you'll be searched and you have to check this. It's not worth it. Cool. All right. So if you want to, just for those who don't know, where is Toronto Tech Week on the internet? Who wants to say the URL?
TorontoTechWeek.com.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Good for you for getting that domain. Cool.
There's
Well,
a
check
question
out.
in the chat, Rob.
Sorry.
Before we go, there's a question in the
There is a
chat
question in the
about
chat.
where the Chamath event is. So that's actually the homecoming event on Tuesday at the Brickworks.
I think it's sold out, but it's streaming, if I'm not
We have
mistaken.
a live stream
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. So check out the live stream. It's on, I believe it's on the homecoming website on the Luma. If I'm not mistaken, you can register that way. And keep an eye on that Luma in case people drop out, because that's a big event. So maybe the probability of people failing to make it is maybe higher. I don't know. Or maybe Chamath is the crazy draw. Thank you. Thanks for asking, Sim. Great. Well, thank you. So torontotechweek.com. Check out decelerator.media for your in-between podcasting consumption on your way to the events and from the events in the middle of the night. And thanks for taking the time to come, Siri, Julia, and Mel. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Really appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having us.
Have a great tech week. Bye.